Hi, everyone, and welcome to the final episode of the Untouched series with Alex Boylan. We end today on what I think is the most intriguing destination of all, Haiti. Haiti is not necessarily a country that is at the top of anyone's travel list. The portrayal of it in the media has consistently been negative and dangerous over the past decades. However, as Alex reminds us, every country needs tourism dollars. So if you have an adventure spark within you, this might be your next destination. I can tell you there are certainly no tourist crowds there. Hope you enjoy. Hello, Alex. Welcome back to Low Season Travel Insider Guides. How are you doing?
Good, Kate. Good. How are you doing? It's good to be here.
I'm doing good. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I feel like this podcast episode is going to be slightly different. Haiti has had well-documented struggles from natural disasters, civil unrest, and when doing my research, it seemed that all the first links on Google were actually travel warnings of not to go to Haiti rather than things to do in Haiti. And normally our episodes revolve around things to do, how to get there, and really inspire people to travel in the low season. However, Haiti at this point in time seems like a country that travelers really should be avoiding. When you were there, were there travel restrictions and warnings for you?
That is a great question because we are shooting around the world for free season 3. Okay, just to set this up for the audience, like around the world for free, one person has to make it around the world using the help of the online community. So you definitely get to some of these obscure places because real people are writing in. I believe, if my memory serves me right, someone was doing some to get in there. It's almost like we had a plane, like someone had a plane in nearby, and that's how we got in. So to land there. So, and we're just the type of crew where we like that stuff, right?
Yeah,
so if it's a little danger,
stuff.
Like that's not like, it's being like, oh, maybe not go here is probably gonna pique my interest more than not, right? So, well, why not? And it's interesting because I usually think that when I'm not saying that you should be cautious, you should be when you travel, but a lot of times we as general travelers are like, oh, this place is safe and this place is not, and this place is, and I just don't buy into a lot of that. People are people no matter where you are on the planet. So like, anyway, that being said, so I think Haiti's it's from like what I saw in Haiti from just infrastructure down to the street level, it was probably one of the roughest places I've seen on the planet. And I remember being there saying, I'm not trying to, there's some tough parts of Africa, let's be honest. And I can remember being there saying like, this is tougher than anything I've seen in Africa. I can remember being there and saying that it's tough. And should I go into a little history? Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
You want me to rip it up? Okay.
Yeah.
So like, and by the way, everyone, I'm not a historian, I'm not a historian, Kate. So please, I'm sure people will be like, wait a second. So if my memory, if this is how I saw it, because we were coming in, so Haiti, Haiti's had a definitely interesting past, right? When that earthquake hit, right? And I can't remember the exact date of that. And it kind of destroyed their capital, Port-au-Prince, right? Most of the people went into the villages and went into the remote areas with family or whatever and got away from the city. I don't think this is, but let's just say the capital of Port-au-Prince was 1 million people. I'm not saying it is, but just for math purposes, right? So it was 1 million people, it's really sad. A lot of people unfortunately got, were died and all that. They leave. Then because the world came to save it, right? And actually, I was on a real plane. No, now that I think about it, I was on a real plane because I remember being on the plane and everyone on the plane was wearing like they're part of missions and they had shirts on. So humanitarians. I was on a regular plane going down there. So they all leave. So the world felt so bad, came to help, right? So when they came to help, now everyone in the village is like, hey, there's free stuff input. All these people are coming with shoes and clothes and all stuff. So that, let's just say that city of 1 million people who somewhat left now returned with their families. So now this area that was pretty beat up, instead of having 1 million people, has 10 million. I know these numbers are off. I'm just trying to give the big picture for it. So
I might do a quick live Google search. So
okay. Yeah. And so the population of Port-au-Prince swelled, right? And then all of a sudden, that's where you started getting these tent cities, right? So these areas were just like humanitarians come in and now we're making tents. And so these areas, it became like tent cities all over the place. And then, it's tough. Like, there'd be almost like militias running each one of these and almost like own little like, mafias. So it's an interesting place on so many levels that I got to see. But but there's why we were down there, and this is like I guess I'm just gonna get into it. Yeah, okay. So this lady named Barbara writes to our host, who's this girl Poverty, and Poverty has like a huge like heart and just like wants to like help people. So anyone where it's like danger plus helping someone, that girl was like sprinting to those areas of the globe. Girl Barbara, she's a U.S. expat. And she's like, please, come here. I want to show you this orphanage that I have like built down here. So that's all we get, right? So we get picked up. We go in, and just driving through the streets of Port-au-Prince, it wasn't like take a right turn at this street. I mean, it's like rubble. So it's just, it almost felt like for me a mini war zone, just trying to navigate through, trying to get to this. So we get there, and this is like, and it's dangerous. So this is like this, I don't know, it's like, I just remember these walls like 20 feet high, right? That was like this like enclave that she was like, had this orphanage in. And, AB was so poor that she just said like, my heart is to help the babies of Haiti. And that's all her mission is. She's like, I am put on this earth to help save the babies of Haiti. And so you get into this place and there's a lot of babies. And every morning we would wake up. This is like the saddest thing in the world, but at the same time, this heartwarming story. You would hear like, there'd be like 3 babies, like infants at the door of this lady. So people knew that this lady was helping out.
And they were just left there.
Just left there.
Wow.
She would take these babies in, and she had some volunteers that worked there. And she was like a mastermind of knowing adoption around the world. Right. And so that was all her job, was to get these babies into like, get, loving homes that could like take care of them. And so I can remember she'd be like, all of a sudden, like Argentina opened up. And so she'd just be like, I gotta get as many babies to Argentina. And then Argentina would like shut it down. And then like, but she knew the world of adoption around the world. And so it was fascinating being inside of her world. And I mean, like Barbara, oh my gosh. I mean, she was a larger woman. She had 2 guns like in her bra everywhere she went, and just like a badass in every sense of the word. So yeah, it was it's a tough place. I can remember like, because of the show, we had to deliver a show every couple of days of what we were doing. And usually these things are, the show is shot and edited in the field. And so that footage, when it was done, we were like sponsored by AT&T. We had like Wi-Fi no matter where we were on the planet. I couldn't get the video. And this is like not some massive file. It's like a 5-minute video, like up to the network. I couldn't do it. And so I remember getting a ride. I'm like, bring me to the nicest hotel you have in Port-au-Prince. Where do dignitaries and, whatever governors go to. So I get this ride to this hotel, and it's, it is not what you would be thinking. I'd be like, it was a pretty rundown hotel. Yeah. And I remember trying to like getting on their computer and trying to upload this like file that should take like literally like 10 minutes. And it would just be like ticking up. It'd be like 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, like 24 hours to like get this. And eventually I was like eventually I got a hold of whoever was running like the like telecom like of Haiti, like, and he was an expat. We're talking on the phone, like, listen, I just got to get this file up. And he's like, there's no way it's ever happening here. There's no way you're getting that file out of this country. I'm like, really? And I remember he said, he goes, you should just fly to the Dominican Republic. I was like, well, oh, okay. And then, it's one island, right? Half it's Haiti, half it's Dominican Republic. And so I jumped on this plane. It's literally like a 20-minute flight. I land in Dominican Republic. I remember like right when I got off the plane, I pulled up my laptop and it's like, I'll start trying to see if I can upload this while I'll book a hotel. And like in 2 seconds later, it was like, boop, boop, all success. And I was like, and I got back on the hotel. And so like, it was the running joke while we were throughout Haiti. Like I would fly to like in and out of Dominican Republic almost every day just so I could get internet access to upload the video. So And you would see back to like, unfortunately, just because of how destitute the area is, and they've unfortunately, like a lot of the countries, they've just burned down. There's just not a lot of natural resources. So when you fly over that, whether you fly or you'll see it more when you fly, and we did it by land and by air across that border. But at the top, when you fly over it, I mean, it's almost like someone drew a line down it. One side is like this lush, beautiful jungle, and the other one just like it was burned. So it was,
yeah, that's tough. Yeah, very interesting.
And when we took a bus over because we went from there to the Dominican Republic afterwards with the show, and we wanted to cross it by land. So we crossed Haiti to Dominican Republic, and border crossings for me can be super fun anyway, because it just many times when you get into like third world countries, they're just mayhem. So it's just like this organized chaos that like you try to figure out. So I weirdly love border crossings. I have plenty of them I could talk about. And I remember that was definitely, and it was like, it just felt like this like crater, and it was just like mayhem trying to get like from one way to the other. It's fun.
Yeah. Was it extremely strict? Because I imagine, half the island is just this beautiful, lush paradise that people travel to. Are there many like Haitians that are trying to get into the Dominican Republic?
I didn't, it's interesting because I remember thinking that too, because I'm also thinking it wasn't like there was like some fence or a wall, right? It was almost like you could go. I mean, it was, I remember, we were a pretty remote area, but I remember thinking that like there's like these buses and these routes and people are kind of coming and going, but that did not feel like, it wasn't like this military, like, someone stopping you from coming and going. I felt like there could be more transit. So, yeah, that was my experience.
Yeah, wow. And so what was the response that you had from the locals? I mean, for a country that's going through so much civil unrest, I mean, I imagine they get a lot of volunteers and mission people down there. But as someone who was there as basically a visitor, what was it like? Did you meet many people from there?
It's funny. And like, it's not funny. I didn't, I mostly was inside this, in with this woman with her nonprofit, right? Mm-hmm. And those were mostly expats. Yeah. I did go to church. And so I remember like kind of getting to know the area a little bit, because church down there, it's like very, and it was like a Christian church, but it would be as if like, this is not being disrespectful whatsoever, but I'm at this Christian church, but it felt like voodoo. I mean, people are like, they have that like energy, like everyone's like singing and praising and like seeing stuff. And it was like, so there is that, like, just that, that like a lot of energy and passion for it. So I remember that was pretty cool. And then, we got into some of these like tent cities. And so, but that was like a mission to get inside there. Like, cause it's really? Like, because like they're kind of mafia-ish run. How we got in was through the pastor of the church. That's right. Cause we wanted to get in. We couldn't get in. Like, it's just like, it's not like they're just, hey, come on in. It wasn't like, especially with cameras, like they, there's their own little kind of governments are going on. It's right. The pastor of the church knew the guards, knew everyone there. They all trusted, they had a good relationship with them. And that's how we get in, because we just want to tell honest stories. And so how I know what happened, those were from the people that were there. You know what I mean? Like we went in and started like, it was almost like awkward, because like I'm walking through these tent cities and I remember just like, would you share your story, right? And so it's a tough topic, because I mean, what it would say is like I only saw what I saw through my lens. I'm not saying that's all of Haiti, but it was tough, because when it just shows what happens when it was almost too much charity, and maybe displaced in the wrong way, if that makes sense to me, because it was like, and I don't know how to fix this. There's so many layers that makes Haiti like challenging place, but there was no, like, at this point in time, at least what I saw, there was no incentive to go work or like and I don't even know if that's inside their nature. It was just like, at that point, there was so much help that like people were kind of like, I'm going to be super honest, because just am. So I'll be transparent if I'm talking to a friend. Absolutely. Here. I was walking up there and I remember no one's out, like other tents. And so eventually I got somebody, and I remember the first thing they said to me, he said, "What do you have for me?" And I thought that was an interesting response. And that was the first time.
Question.
Yeah. And so, and I remember that until that moment, it all kind of started clicking in me and put together in my head. Cause I was just like, where is everyone? Why not? It's like, at that point, I don't know what they would do otherwise. Right. Because they've been, this had this massive earthquake. It's a tough place. Like, jobs are scarce anyway, but compound that with like every missionary and their, families coming to help them out and giving. And I feel like it's created this, like, I don't know how you fix what's going on in Haiti. And that's where my brain goes a lot of times when I'm in some of these like tougher places in the world. It's like, what's wrong? Is this just like corruption, or is this just this, or is this that? I think I feel so bad because I think there's just layers and layers to this conversation of where it is. And by the way, that's the world I saw, because I know that there's some beautiful islands off of Haiti that like cruises go to, and that there are some like cool places that people go. I just saw the more real side of it, which is what I love anyway. But, I saw the very raw, real side of Haiti.
So I guess there's just such a lack of tourism that every foreigner they see, they expect there's some kind of missionary or volunteer, and they just assume you're there to help and give stuff.
100%.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. 100%. Now I should say, like, I remember like being inside, like in Barbara's, like when I would walk around the neighborhood and try to, that was different. And those were people, but it was destitute poverty. You know what I mean? It was just another level than I'd seen, and I've filmed inside Soweto, inside, Patate and Caracas. I mean, I've gone into a lot of favelas and a lot of places to tell a lot of stories. This one, it was missing like the soul. Cause a lot of times it's like, oh, this is like some dangerous favela in Rio. And you go up there and it's like, people are having a ball. It's like, these guys have their own party going on. It's awesome. Right. And so, and it's not the same. And this one definitely felt different. Like, my heart went out for the people. And then this is the type of stuff people should go see. I always tell people, it's like, who, quote unquote, are travelers. It's like, this is the place you want to see a lot of the parts of the world, some heavy parts. There's some, that's a trip you will never forget. Right. Yeah, because you'll have an experience that you'll never have somewhere else.
At any point, did you feel like your safety was compromised? And if it was, do you have any recommendations for our audience that if they were ever finding themselves in a sticky situation, do you have a method that you go to if you find yourself in a situation like that?
It's funny. I'll have a couple things, and I'll say one thing that Jolt and I always said. This was like the tagline of Around the World for Free. A smile and a wave will get you more places than you can imagine. Right. And so I just think a smile and a wave will buy you more than anything. And then I think it sounds so cliche, but especially in this, it's like, the more you're with locals, they know the way, you know what I mean? They know it. Right. And so not only do they know where to be and where not to be, they also can get you access into places, just like the pastor got us access into here. I can remember like in Patate, when we had to get into there. In Caracas, that was an interesting place to get into. And it was the dentist who did free work in there who got us in, right? Or who we went in with, right? Who just knew people. And it's just like, now you're with someone. So I think as soon as you're, I would say it's like, be friendly, be nice, be curious, right? Get to know people. That's going to get you more than anything. I don't have any like survival skill of it. I think I am curious about people, and I like people. Yeah. I like people. I like meeting people. I like new stories. So I think that's that's probably the best way.
So did you go anywhere else in Haiti other than Port-au-Prince, or is that where you mainly were traveling?
Yeah, we were just in Port-au-Prince, except when we took this bus, because we went over by land, so across the country to get into the Dominican Republic. And that's where we had to like do that border crossing. So, I am sure that there's layers of this that I don't know about that are awesome,
Yeah. So I do want to have a positive and light note. What was your fondest memory of Haiti?
There's no question about it. I think for sure it's this Lady Barbara. Imagine, and this is what I would say. To me, and this goes into like the world, why, I think there's different reasons why someone would go to Haiti, but like, I think people who go, and I think there's a word for this, like volunteer tourism. Volunteer tourism, I think, will change people's lives. Like, everyone should do one volunteer tourism a year, because how that will change your life, right? By just helping somebody, right? Or giving a hand. And so Barbara, I mean, she dedicated her life to helping other people, and of all them like babies. And so, and just like, she was like this power woman, you know what I mean? In a tough place, in a tough area of the world, all these things. And here you got this lady who smiled. I mean, and when I say she was like the funniest, laughing, even on all these challenging things, she was smiling and laughing and having a ball with this crazy world that like you walk in from the outside, like, oh my gosh. So just to know that there's people on the planet that are pushing themselves so far outside their comfort zone, so far outside their boundaries to help people. So massive, like, shining light, right? And I think there's a lot of like just genuine good people there trying to help, right? And I think that's where, like, that would, whether it's Haiti or wherever it is in the world, like that, what a great, like those whether it's around the world for free, I used to do a series called Missions in Action where we went and told these stories around the world of where, like, what happens when people, like, you sponsor a kid or, whatever, buy chickens for a family, like what happens there in a tangible way. And that idea spawned from around the world, because every time we went into some of the more like tougher places, and I'm just going to call it volunteer tourism, the audience lit up. Like the audience loved it, right? And that's why we kept doing it, because the audience would be like, how can I help? What's going on here? And so I think the next layer of that is the people who are travelers, like, get out, and the people who have done stuff like this, like, encourage your friends to go. Because you're helping someone, and I guarantee you're gonna get a different eye on this planet as a traveler than you would just like cruise around seeing sights and taking Instagram pics.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, everyone should try. Now, I don't want to seem insensitive with this question, but I recently saw a video of a guy that spoke about traveling to destinations immediately after terrorist attacks or natural disasters. He said it's great because it's cheap, there's lots of security, and you get basically the whole place to yourself. And I feel like that this could be applied to Haiti and in a way hopefully bring tourism back there. What do you think of that, of someone who's traveling to destinations post-terrorist attack?
I love it. And I don't know if it's what I remember after that bombing in Bali, remember that? Like that I can't remember that 5 or 10 years ago, whatever it was. I remember because like there's a lot of surfers in Bali, so most people took off. Yeah. But the people who stayed, like all the surfers, like, this is the best. Like, there's no surfers here, and I'm getting to live at like 10th the cost. So that's something. I mean, I think for the hardcore traveler, the person who's, I'm like full on that. Like when people tell me like there was something, because I go to Nicaragua a lot to surf, and I got this little spot down there that I love. And something, this is recently, in the last couple of years, people are like, oh man, like, people aren't going down there because there's a lot of like uprising. I'm like, oh, we got to book a trip. No one's on the waves, that's exactly where my mind went. It was like, of course, like, there's probably some stuff happening, right? There's stuff happening everywhere. Stuff happening in America, right? It's like, so I'm one to say like 100% down for that.
Yeah, and I think it's really important for the economies as well. I went to the Gili Islands in Indonesia about a week after a massive earthquake, and the issue is people, as soon as they heard that there was an earthquake, they were like, nope, don't want to go. Things are destroyed. But it's so important for tourists to go back there and to help put that money back into the economy. Don't look at a place and be like, oh no, I don't want to go there. It's so important for tourists to come back there. So
100%. It's kind of, it's like the micro version of your low season traveler. You know what I mean? When something, totally. It's I agree. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. And any listeners that are looking to go to Haiti, make sure you do your research before you go, and you know exactly what you're going to do when you get there. But it's been fascinating to learn about a place that just doesn't really have tourism at all. I have really
I hope it's an uplifting story, because the people of Haiti are awesome. It's an amazing, beautiful island in the Caribbean. Get out there, check it out.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much, Alex. See you next time.
You got it.
Thank you for listening to our Untouched series. It has been an absolute pleasure working with Alex and picking his well-traveled brain. I hope you've enjoyed discovering some new destinations, and we've inspired you to travel off the beaten path. Don't forget, if no one's about, it's always low season. If you are interested in learning about destinations during their low season, make sure to visit our website, www.lowseasontraveler.com, or check out our Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn at Low Season Traveler. Don't forget, more now than ever, travel is better without the crowds.